Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin, as per usual. Guys, how you feeling tonight?
Feeling good.
I got a quote for you guys. I want to see
lay
if
it
you
on
can
me.
assign it. Power is the word that I'm thinking of. If I could get used to it, I'm finally getting used to it.
Oh, do we have to guess who said that?
Is it Kanye? Sounds like Kanye.
That sounds like Kanye. Since we haven't talked about him in a couple of weeks.
No. Even greater. More
Dave Gettleman.
No, it's a musician.
Okay.
More prolific than Kanye and closer to us than Kanye. Power's that word that I'm thinking of. If I can get used to it, I'm finally getting used to it.
No idea. I give up.
Colin, this should be ringing a bell for you.
Oh, what genre, can I ask?
Sort of South American inspired post-hardcore progressive punk metal.
Eric Castillo.
Yes.
Oh, wow. When did he say this?
He said this on your La Cosa Nostra album.
Those are lyrics?
Power's that word that I'm thinking of. If I can get used to it, I'm finally getting used to it.
So for context, this is a line from one of Colin's bands. He doesn't remember the line.
Well, most of it was screamed, and I wasn't singing it, so I didn't really.
It's a great line.
Yeah, no, it is.
You're listening to La Cosa Nostra, Dan?
I listen to La Cosa Nostra all the time.
Love that.
You got to go back.
I probably should.
It scratches a good itch.
Is it on
you know
Spotify?
What?
No, you got to buy it on Bandcamp.
When I listen to that stuff, I feel like it's an outer body experience because I can't even imagine playing those bass lines anymore. I can't.
You're too old for that?
I don't. My fingers might break. I don't know.
Are you less dexterous in the hands as you age? Do you find that?
You know what? That whole experience was about pushing the envelope, and that was the whole point. And I got it, and then I didn't need to do it anymore. So I feel like it was just a moving on kind of situation. If I would like to play it and try to play it, I don't know if I could do it consistently. It's
some prog rock.
Yeah, that's basically what it was.
We should start a Rush cover band, the three of us.
I'd love to play Rush songs. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you. You're the bass player.
The guitar is great in that band.
But it's just like it's all like lead. It's all like soul. It's all like
it's
there's like no power chord. There's a couple power chords here and there. It'd be a big stretch for TJ and I.
That's a good point. Well,
hey, I've been playing. I got my amp. I got my quarter-inch cable got lost in the mail, but I finally got one. So I plugged my guitar in and I played the other day, and it was really satisfying.
What did you play? What was the first thing you
The problem is that I don't remember how to play any song. So I think I played like just some BS chord progressions and whatever, like fake solos and things like that. But I have to learn how to play some songs. It's been a long time.
You know what's a fun thing to do when you haven't played in a long time that makes you feel better is you tie like a sock or like a scrunchie or something and put it up on the nut at the top of the fretboard, and then that'll mute all the unwanted noises you make, so you don't feel so bad about how sloppy your playing is.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. As usual, guys, please follow us at Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can get us at Big BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter, and don't forget to download DraftKings app. Use promo code TPPN. We are heading through free agency. I believe the majority of the signings have probably been done, so we can sort of kind of round up this conversation this week. I assume maybe there'll be a couple more additions just based on kind of what the positions of need are that, maybe is not something you can totally rely on in the draft. But I guess the obvious place to start is with the Darren Waller trade, who was traded over from Las Vegas for a third-round pick, the same pick the Giants got for Kadarius Toney from the Kansas City Chiefs. How are you feeling about this signing? Is this a good move? Is this a good value, Colin, do you think?
I do think so, especially because, and I think we started to talk about this a little bit. I mean, he will be a bit of a centerpiece of this offense. I think that's pretty obvious, but I don't think it will be so necessary to hammer him with passes all the time, especially because we have Bellinger still there, who's still learning a lot, but I think he's in a higher echelon of number 2 tight ends. So I think there's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets. We still have the draft to come with the wide receivers, and we've already been signing a whole bunch of wide receivers too. So I I do think it's a good pickup, especially hearing the silly backstory that it seems that something to do with a wedding and Josh Daniels and him not being happy with him anymore for some strange reason. And that's kind of why he was jettisoned. Even 15, 16 days ago, Josh McDaniels was just like, oh, he's totally part of our future. And then all of a sudden, no.
He publicized the wedding, and he didn't want the wedding to be public, and Josh McDaniels wasn't invited anyway. And from all accounts, Josh McDaniels is a horrible person to get hang out with anyway, so I'm sure there's no love lost there.
No.
I think it's a great signing because it's essentially all upside. As if they renegotiate the contract and lower the cap hit for this year, whether that's a sign-on bonus or are able to clear some cap space, there's nothing tied to him for next year. It's a play on if he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he's certainly a top 5 tight end in the NFL as far as pass catchers go. I would argue top 3 probably. He's essentially, Kenny Galladay. What Kenny Galladay should be. He's not a huge blocker, but he's big and he's athletic and he can make a lot of contested catches. And I think you're right with Bellinger, who is also more of a pass catching tight end, that they could be a nice 1-2 combo. And I think we were chatting about it earlier this week. Maybe those are the guys that'll get the sort of tough to make, contested catches across the middle or, in double coverage where we have the smaller guys zipping around and Wandell and the other wide receivers that are more slight on the team, and get those guys in space or in sort of out in the flats and just allow them to get yards after catch and just give it to the big body tight ends.
And Waller's more of a move tight end anyway. So, I mean, Bellinger can be moved, but he's a little more stationary. So keep him in line when you move Waller around more, and then you can open things up. Who knows?
Yeah. But I think it's cool because it shows where the team's at, that we're able to attract, big name players, and they want to come here because they know they're going to maximize their potential to either, capitalize on a short-term contract or just be in a good environment to be in an offense that works and play for a coach that everyone seems to love.
And a new turf that maybe will cut down on the injuries. Who knows?
That's fun news, right? Do we have any specific information about what that turf is going to be? All we know is that
I think it's rumor city still, right?
Yeah. I mean,
grass.
How often do you see a picture like that with absolutely nothing on the ground? I mean, usually, even with concerts, they put it on top of the turf like that. So to have it completely pulled up, that kind of lends you to think that they're doing something finally.
Yeah, I like that photo of MetLife with no turf. My favorite comment on it was like, has all the charm of a graveyard.
Yeah.
Exactly. You literally could have thought the photo was in black and white, but it was in color. That's how, dreadful.
What was it?
Looks at any green.
It was Baltic core. Was that?
Yeah.
That was Baltic core. That's good. But when it comes to Waller, I mean, I just feel like, there wasn't anyone out there to sign who was who was worth, a contract in the $10 million range, even though 3 guys did get those contracts. So Shane went out, took a pick that they got, a pick that they had a flyer on, from Kadarius. Picked up a big-bodied tight end who will probably be, as Colin said, put out wide a lot. Used more as a wide receiver. But yeah, the ultimate thing is, can he stay healthy? Because when he is healthy, as Dan said, he had 1,000 yards in 2019, 2020. In 2020, had 9 TDs and 100 grabs. I mean, if he can approach those numbers for the Giants next year, stay healthy, stay on the field, I think it's going to be a gigantic addition to the passing attack. And gives you that big body that you really don't have elsewhere if you look at kind of the other signings that the Giants have made at the pass catching positions.
I think it's also important to note that, based on his sort of turbulent background and getting to the league, he doesn't have as much wear and tear on the body as maybe other players that are 30 years old in the NFL. So
that's fair.
If he can not break any bones, he should be in good shape. Also, I want to add that he looks like Gigantor Pharrell. They look very similar to me. He's like a massive Pharrell.
Well, that makes me happy. I don't know about you.
Well, he's one of my favorite humans. I think Colin appreciates him. I mean, who doesn't really?
Yeah.
He wrote that song "Happy," and I'm a miserable person, so I don't really like him.
That song's annoying for sure.
Yeah, it's not great.
There is a video of him out there, where someone plays a video of all these kids like dancing and being happy with it. And he starts crying, and I was like, that's pretty sweet. That's cute. Otherwise, that song is pretty whatever.
Talented man.
Let's stay on the pass catchers, and we'll go to maybe the second most exciting signing on the offensive side of the ball in Paris Campbell from the Colts. 1 year, $6.7 million. What are you guys feeling about this signing? Obviously, brings a lot of speed to the defense. Dan, what's your thoughts?
I mean, got to be pretty happy about it.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, I think, he was someone that we specifically shouted out when we were previewing free agency. He's one of those guys that seems to be a type fit for the offense they're trying to build, as far as pure speed and someone that has to be accounted for on the offense. He had sort of an, again, injury plagued start of his career in Indianapolis. And when he had decent quarterback play, which is very rare, he did have moments where you could see that he's, lives up to his billing as, what was his second round pick?
Yes,
he was.
And I think he was the fastest guy at the combine that year as well.
4.3. Yeah. Fast man.
So he was someone that I think we all had eyes on, coming out of the draft, but obviously worst case scenario in Indianapolis as far as being in an offense that can utilize those skills. I think, again, he's fits that mold of an electric dynamic player that could be used to really open up our offense. And, someone was asking me, like, right, he's super fast, but do you guys know, or like, why aren't we envisioning him as someone that would push or pressure secondaries like deep, take the top off? I feel like he's used more intermediately, or is that just a result of having awful quarterback play in Indianapolis?
I think it was the awful quarterback play. But I mean, what makes me even more excited about him, it's a tandem kind of thing. I think the combination of him and re-signing Slayton is going to be huge for both of their involvements in the offense. I think what little we saw, well, I don't know if it's little, but Slayton had a big part of the offense last year, and I think he's going to have an even bigger part because he's going to be more open. They're both fast.
It doesn't matter how much Slayton's open; it's whether he can catch it or not.
Well, and what I mean by that is I think he's going to be given less opportunities to be the go-to guy. So if he doesn't take those opportunities, yeah, that's it. So
yeah,
I'm sort of envisioning more of like, I think you bring in Paris Campbell, who, has in his first 3 years, he played 15 games combined. Last year was his only full season he played, and he played well. He did have a breakout year, as Dan said. I think what the Giants are doing, and also, we can look at Jeff Smith, who we signed from the Jets, who also ran a 4.340, less obviously, proven than a lot of the other guys. But I think you're going to see, a slate of injuries, and you're going to have four guys who basically can come in and be interchangeable with each other and starting in this offense. And Wandale, Campbell, Smith, and Slayton, they all kind of have a similar skill set. Slayton maybe just like a little bit more length, but also still a speedster. But yeah, I imagine just a lot of quickness and quick throws, which will also, protect Jones and make that contract number look better to everybody out there. I don't know. That's just how I envision this offense being, just a lot of quick dropbacks, really, quick separation with a lot of these super fast dudes. And yeah, I do hope that there's opportunity to throw downfield as well, but I don't necessarily see that coming. At least not in the beginning.
But didn't you see the workout video that they put out today of Daniel Jones? he's really looking like a top 10 quarterback throwing in those drills. He's just
he really knows where to put the ball when he puts it in the same spot 15 throws in a row.
He looks like he can throw a football professionally. Yeah. That's what that video looks like to me.
Well, I just love how people set that up as if this is the changing point now. I'm glad he's working this hard, but can he do it when it counts? That's the whole
just want to be hyped up, man. I think that's all it is. Let people get excited. As much as I think that the three of us were kind of like whatever about this deal. You kind of are here now, so
yeah,
might as well get excited.
And to be fair, when we discussed the signing, Colin and I, or at least me, I said I want more videos of him working out almost every day.
With a beard.
I want to see him. Yes, well, he has to grow it first, so I'll give him a little bit of leeway.
Sure.
But yeah, lifting things, objects, cars, like doing like a rickshaw down like the middle, like Broadway, that'd be sweet.
Doing like eating competitions too. I think that should be.
Gonna beat Joey Chestnut in the hot dog eating competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he should have to take on any challenge from anybody in any type of lifestyle. Like he should take, Bobby challenges him to drink 24 hard seltzers. He's got to get after it. He can't say no.
I want you to challenge him to a pickleball match at McCarran Park in Brooklyn.
Yes.
They're doing that every Saturday.
We're talking.
You think Twitter is going to be a hellscape after I pwn him at pickleball? 40 pounds overweight with a beard.
With a beard, yeah, that's important. I love that pickleball is like making this resurgence, which is something that we played in high school, and I never heard of it again until like a couple months ago.
Well, that was the last time I touched a paddle. To be honest.
Oh yeah, you sure about that?
A pickleball paddle, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, we don't want to talk about college right now.
Yeah. Well, I think isn't it kind of it started as like at least recently as kind of an old person.
Yeah, olds love it.
Yeah, olds love it.
Olds.
It's like pre-shuffleboard, but like right before shuffleboard.
Oh, like it's like the sport before you go to shuffleboard?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
It's people that like can't do tennis, so they play pickleball.
Yeah, they stand closer to the net and move less.
Less space to cover.
That sounds great. I hate moving. Speaking of guys who get in trouble when they move, we should wrap up our pass catcher section with Sterling Shepard here, who came back. 1 year, 1.3 million, 152K in potential roster bonuses.
Love it.
Yeah, Colin, what do you feel about this? Because I think there's a lot of mixed feelings about this deal, which I find to be odd personally.
I think, well, let's break down the deal a little bit more because I mean it's pretty damn incentive laden. I mean, I think it's one of those kind of Sterling and his agent were like, we don't want to go anywhere else. What could we do here? We're willing to work with you. And it was kind of like one of those things where as much as we like to laugh about it and talk about it, and especially, get under Dan's, skin about it. He's a wonderful locker room guy. Well, and I think that's a bigger part of it than we'd like to not laugh about. I think that is he's a glue, and as long as he puts glue on his body and doesn't fall apart, I think it's a good thing.
I would also note he's actually is a locker room guy. He's not like Jonathan Stewart, who they signed because they wanted him to be a locker room guy. You can't like transpose locker room guys. Like they're a locker room guy in the locker room that they're in. You don't know that locker room ability is going to correlate to a different locker room with different personalities.
Say locker room one more time.
No. Okay. All right. What did Jonathan Stewart? What was his Madden score for locker room guy as opposed to Sterling Shepard?
Man, why is there not a locker room guy score on Madden? Like that's like seems so obvious now that you mention it.
The Nick Swisher rating, just
yes. Sterling
Shepard has a 90. No, well, Jihad Ward has 99. I think Shep maybe like high 90s.
I think Jihad Ward's a locker room guy to us. I think he like brings a lot to the table for the fan base, but I don't think he's like helping dudes out like in the locker room. He's not like
I'll never forget that when they're on the airplane, he's like recording it. He's like Daniel just has his headphones on. He like starts calling him the N-word, and I'm just like, what is going on? How is this video posted on the internet right now?
All I know.
Daniel Jones was like when these kids are selling candy on the subway, like that's how Daniel Jones reacted to Jihad Ward. He's like,
Yeah. Thanks.
Leave me alone, dude.
All I know is that there needs to be more pictures of Jihad Ward with his middle fingers, both of them up. There needs to be more of them. I just think that's
should
important.
You do a collab with Eminem?
Or Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Yeah, you gotta put him in the air, God.
I mean, who cares if Sterling is back? They can cut him if they need to cut him. He has no guaranteed money. Just move on.
There you go. That's the biggest part. And I think he's going to work hard to actually be a part of this team, which is great.
Yeah, if he can come back and be healthy, that's great. He can contribute. He can catch some balls in third down. Jones is familiar with him. I mean, for people who don't want him to be back, it's just a little confusing for me because this deal doesn't lock you in anywhere.
Yeah.
And if you are able to get younger in training camp and you do have that, option with the personnel you have at camp, then you do it. And if you don't, then you don't. You keep him on the team.
And there might have been a frank conversation too, where it was just like, you will have 100% opportunity to, be a starter in this offense if you hold up well and you play well. But there's probably a caveat where it's just like, listen, where you're at and where you've been injury wise, it's possible you are a part-time player and you are there to lift up the wide receiver room more than anything else. And if he was just like, sign me up, I want to be here, I don't want to be anywhere else, then it's a win-win on both sides.
I think that's probably what happened. Ready for the underdogs, the upsets, and the unbelievable action from DraftKings Sportsbook. The biggest tournament in college basketball is here. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on college hoops and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, for a limited time, all customers can score a no-sweat bet during round 1 and 2 of the tournament. Go to the app, opt in, and place a no-sweat bet this weekend. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus back up to $10. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with promo code TPPN. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Win or lose. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code TPPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Do you want to touch on Slayton again? I know we mentioned him, but I do want to ask you guys real quick. A lot of people talk about how bad the Giants wide receiver room was last year, and then you bring back Shepard, Hodgins, and Slayton. Do you think those were the right moves to make to bring back guys, or should we have kind of started more from the ground up and brought in some more new blood than they have already?
The money was right, and there's consistency. So bring in some talent in the draft, whether it's early or later, mid-round or later, and see how they all integrate into the whole room. I think it's not a bad way to continue to build this offense.
Yeah, I don't think there was a ton out there anyway. If you wanted to, either way you wanted to cut it, statistically, production-wise, despite all his shortcomings, he was on par with a lot of the other free agents out there. I don't think the contract hurts too much. It's not a long-term deal, anything like that. So yeah, I'm not excited about it, but I feel like this front office realizes they can't fix everything in one off season. At every single position. I think the expectation is a little bit ridiculous that we're going to fill every single hole this offense, especially still not having the cap flexibility we want to have. So he's a known quantity. He has a rapport with Daniel Jones. We'll see how it goes.
And apparently, I mean, I read one article where there were a couple of teams in play, and some of which they alluded to were willing to pay more, and he decided to stay home.
There you go, home team discount.
Exactly, which is
cool. Yeah, cool. I mean, I don't think they're Shark or Hardman. I guess for the other two guys that were being talked about are significantly better than him. Yeah, I mean, he's good for 700 yards, couple touchdowns. Hopefully he can work on his game and continue to improve, work on his hands. Mostly, I think is what everybody laments him for. But I mean, I can just envision Paris Campbell and Waller getting hurt, and then Jones having a bad year, and everyone be like, well, he had the same wide receivers as last year. They never gave him any help.
Well, can we enjoy that not being reality right now for a moment, and let's just wait until
just for
it
a
happens?
brief moment in time. We can enjoy the fact that the wide receiver core does look vastly improved, even with the addition of just a few guys.
Yeah.
I know we talked about a couple defensive things last week, but did we get into the Okereke contract, or did we just mention that he was signed? I don't recall.
We didn't totally have the correct picture on it.
All right. So yeah, 4 years, $40 million, but it's like basically all the money's front loaded, and it's like two 9-year options on the end of the contract. So essentially, it's a 2-year deal with the guaranteed money. Then the Giants have the option to keep him around. I mean, 26 years old, 151 tackles last season. I think he had 17 against the Giants when they played, which is
insane,
pretty crazy. Good. He can play, he can do coverage, but he's mostly, better run stopper, pass rushing guy. And I think the most important thing is that you have like a veteran presence in the middle who could be versatile in a Wink Martindale defense, which is what this, defense really lacked. And I'm happy that they went out and spent money on this position, but I want you guys to ask you guys, if you look at some of the other deals that linebackers have signed, do you think the Giants overpaid for this?
That's what it seems like a bit.
Yeah, it does seem.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I think we're going to say the same thing. I think, seeing some of the other contracts out there, I'd be lying if I said I could really vouch for or articulate what separates these linebackers from each other in terms of ability. I feel like it's hard to evaluate their skill set from a novice standpoint because so much relies on the team around them. But just based on pure numbers, it seems like a pretty rich contract for a guy that never really distinguished himself from some of the other names that are free agents.
I mean, hell, maybe they're looking at him as the second coming of Antonio Pierce, who was also an unheralded pickup when we got him. I don't think anybody was excited about that.
I don't know. I think Antonio Pierce had a little more juice.
He was an undrafted free agent who worked his way up, and he was on the upswing, and then all of a sudden he hit his stride when he was with us. So I don't know. Maybe they're thinking it's the same kind of situation. But I do want to bring something up. It just came to my mind, and especially with Wink's defense in mind. Is this a situation, and we know how Wink runs his defenses, normally one of the safeties has the green dot on his helmet and calls the plays. Is this a situation where the middle linebacker will be switched to doing that?
I think McKinney's still your go-to guy, right?
Well, the contract kind of lends to making you think that it's possible he might be doing it, but who knows? I don't know.
I think if this guy can cover tight ends, he'll be worth every penny.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the idea is. And I think the idea is to have more linebackers on the field on more downs so that they can do better against the run. So I think, if he can work well in space and in coverage, and I've heard that he can line up in the slot. I don't know if I believe that or not, and I didn't see any video evidence of it, but if he can truly, take out the tight end for some teams, I won't say maybe the most athletic guys, but that's going to be huge for the Giants because it's been something that's been killing them for as many seasons as I can remember.
Could we put him in the DeLorean and have him cover Jason Witten a couple of years ago?
But again, I guess something about the draft is that there's a lot of linebackers that are more of coverage type than thumper types. I feel like
smaller dudes. Yeah,
like that dude from Tulane,
Dorian Thompson.
Dorian,
something like that.
He's just one of a handful of guys that are more speed based, not really going to be, in between the tackles kind of linebackers.
Yeah.
That's something that we've never had, and to me is always something that is like a shiny object for me in the draft.
Oh, I can almost put money down that we're going to be drafting linebacker at some point. That's happening.
Yeah, I'm for it. Do you remember like the old term on Big Blue, Big Blue View, right?
Yeah.
Is that the Beezers? That every draft time all they wanted was a linebacker and didn't want to hear anything, no matter what our draft pick was.
Yes.
Drafting two is like, let's get a linebacker. The Beezer Brigade.
It never happened.
Never happened.
God,
but every year they're like, it's our year.
We need to compile a list of all and I feel bad for any of them, all of the really crappy linebackers that we've drafted over the last 20 years.
Clint Symptom.
Yeah, well, that's the one that keeps coming up. But Jonathan Goff was one.
He started a couple seasons though.
For injury's sake, he shouldn't have been starting.
I believe he was like the starter. I think maybe that just spoke to how piss poor the Giants were that year. But yeah, they were. Well, honestly, they didn't really draft a lot of linebackers, did they? Isn't that the problem? At least, especially not in the first round. We know that at least.
Carl Banks, baby. That's the last one, 1984.
I think this signing is indicative that the Giants see better value in the first round at other positions, but I wouldn't be weird to see them pick a smaller kind of off-ball guy in the later rounds. I think you already have McFadden and Beavers that you got last year to be your thumpers.
Although Beavers, let's see how his knee holds up, but he was pretty good at coverage in college, and that was why they drafted him. So if he can regain the speed that he had, that's going to be an asset right there. So.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. Should we mention about the Leonard Johnson signing this year, which I think is a bit of a weird one? So undrafted free agent coming off a ACL tear, played for Duke, 25 games, had decent numbers, 165 tackles, 10.5 for a loss, 2 sacks, 6 interceptions. I think the more interesting thing was I went and dug up his draft profile, when he was going to be in the draft before he tore his ACL, and it was basically describing him as being a camp body. So if that's really the case, what do you think is the deal with giving him a 3-year deal?
Safety. They're going to move him.
Interesting. I didn't think of that.
The reason being is I read some of those draft profiles too, and they hammered on the fact that he was a sure tackler, which lends you to think, all right, well, this could be a Julian Love situation where you see a skill set that you could work with, and this coaching staff, as we all know, has the capability of working up talent where they see it, even if it's out of position. So who knows? I mean, we'll see. I think that's a good, especially being that since Love is gone, as we'll talk about, I'm sure, very shortly, there's room for probably drafting a safety and working other bodies into that spot. So, I mean, I feel like, especially with that that screenshot that you sent in the thread, was it today or yesterday, TJ? Of the formations that Wink like to use on defense, and the highest percentage was 2 down linemen. What was it? 4 linebackers and 5 defensive backs. I mean, that's you need all the defensive backs you can get, especially if that's going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about him. It's definitely odd, the timing on it. But I mean, it's a body, I guess. I just don't understand the connection to Duke and the Giants. Like,
he was Daniel's teammate in college. That's a big deal, isn't it?
Do you think this was part of Daniel's contract signing, that we got to bring the student in, or else I'm going to hold out longer?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. They must. Well, apparently they liked him a lot in his workout. They were surprised by the performance he put on. Which, hey, if they get a diamond in the rough, cool, go for it.
They obviously see something. I just, I mean, it's fine bringing in a camp body. I just think it's odd to have a 3-year deal, but we don't know the details of that at all. So, I mean, it could be, they could potentially be able to cut him tomorrow with no dead money. We have no idea, but wouldn't seem that way with the term of the deal, at least of what we are aware of.
We talk about Raheem.
Yeah, I mean, we can mention him again. Raheem Nunez-Roches, 3 years, $12 million, 7.5 guaranteed. Some sure up in the defensive line. I know the Giants also, we're going to talk to Ashawn Robinson today. I mean, what do you think? Obviously Jihad Ward is back too. Do you think the Giants need to bring in more defensive line depth at this point? You really never have enough, right?
I mean, you took Williams and Sexy Dexy off the field, and it turned into a sieve. So you need to have some sort of competency in the depth chart to bring in. So I like it. I mean, he seems like, we mentioned last week, he seems like an interesting guy. Very, another personality for this team, which is always good to have. And I mean, his stats are nothing crazy, but he's definitely. He's better than what we've had behind these guys in the seasons past.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a good signing if it indicates a move away from Leonard Williams. I guess that's like the big question.
A restructuring or something.
Yeah, we should talk about that next when Stan's done.
No, I mean that's it. Like I remember him as a draft prospect essentially. I think he was a high first-round draft pick, and a huge defensive tackle. We need more of them. We are very thin there still, even with the signing of Jihad and what's his name from Tampa Bay. Still need some bodies there. And in reality, I don't think we really run a true like 4-3 that often either. So probably have 2 tackles on there, for the majority of the time. But yeah, I mean, I think we're still hamstrung by the initial contract for him. Even though he was playing closer to the level of that contract, it's not something that we can live with forever and still build this team. So it gives us ability to switch it up, I think.
And another situation where, I mean, you can see it. We have all the draft picks that you could possibly want, and we're probably going to move some of them, but a lot of the back end of this roster is going to be filled out by some young guys, and that includes defensive tackle.
Yeah. Could agree with that. I want to ask about what I think is the worst signing, which is the bringing Matt Breida back for potentially $2.5 million a year, which is what we should be paying someone to be starting at this position, and not your backup who had 50 carries last year. Don't you think the Giants should? I mean, and you have Brightwell on the roster too. Like, what was the point of this? I don't get it.
Well, isn't the contract a little bit better than on the surface? It's
$1.4 million with $100 million in incentives. Still, you could end up paying, what everyone was, what they were paying Devin Booker a couple years ago, and everyone was really annoyed about that. So, I mean, it just seems odd to kind of do a similar thing. I guess they just like Breida from his continuity at Buffalo.
You didn't say 100 million incentives, did you?
Sorry, 1 million. Excuse me.
Okay, thank God, because I would
100 incentives.
that would have scared the crap out of me. Yeah, I mean,
Saquon gets hurt and it just bankrupts the Giants.
yeah. Yeah, it's a little curious. Maybe there's something we're not seeing. I don't know, in terms of getting out of it.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but
No,
it's
I
just,
guess not.
I guess just I wanted Dan to say something bad about running backs this episode.
Yeah, I think I addressed this perhaps last week, but they don't matter. We could draft someone with a 254th pick and probably be just as fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Not much more free agents to talk about. I know we brought in Wyatt Davis was re-signed. Jared Davis was re-signed. Jamie Gilliam we mentioned last week. Nick Gates leaving we mentioned last week. But we should talk about, what is a glaring hole at center. Not one center on the roster. I know I asked you this, guys, earlier in the text, but the Giants have to sign somebody. They can't just rely on the draft for this, right?
Yeah. I mean, at first I thought it seemed that they didn't think that Feliciano would leave to the 49ers. But then I read somewhere where it was clear that they were only going to give him so much, and that's why he left. So it was almost like they knew this was going to happen. So they have to have some sort of plan. I mean, if this was Gettleman, we know there was no plan. But since it's Shane, there's some sort of a plan. You sent the list of what free agents are still out there. No real notable names on there, but there's some guys that are in, 27, 28 years old that you can sign for probably cheap and just turn them into another Feliciano. I mean, just for the time being. That's probably what they're thinking until they can maybe, I mean, hell, we might be drafting a center early in this draft because of today's move.
Yeah. There are plenty of dirtbags out there that want to play center. Get some more dirtbags.
That didn't really do him any justice. I feel like that was not a great thing to say.
I mean, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. But yeah, I mean, you can't really mourn the loss of
Oh, he was not an emotional connection pick. That's average. For sure.
Yeah, we're not. So I feel like he's replaceable. Yeah, and I think it does indicate, or underlines the need in the draft significantly. Hopefully, come away from the draft with multiple interior offensive linemen would be the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to see somebody move from guard to center. I know the Giants do, preach about versatility. I don't know if is there really anyone on the roster? Maybe Brendison, possibly can move over.
He played center a little bit last year.
Yeah, for what I read in an article, someone described it as a cup of coffee. He played center for.
I love that. Love that phrase.
So, I mean, obviously, I think they're going to have to draft somebody. But yeah, like you said, Colin, I think the guy from the Jets that I mentioned. What the heck was his name again? Just because I feel
Nick Mangold.
Oh man, I miss Nick Mangold.
Kevin Mawai.
Holly Mangold.
Kevin Mawai. Connor McGovern. Nice Irish boy. I mean, he's serviceable. He played for the Jets. I feel like people who play for the Jets want to come to the Giants because then they don't have to move.
Yeah,
that's my only logic here. You probably don't have to pay him that much because he's been sitting on the market.
Yeah,
and the longer you sit on the market, the more your value goes down. So
that's true. Hey, I'd be into it.
I mean, speaking of that, do you guys want to? Should we mention Ani Odell?
Well, speaking of putting your market down, I mean that by the moment his price is coming down, and that's especially after Brandon Cooks is apparently going to the Cowboys. So that kind of it. Hey, come home and make it realistic with you and your agent. How about that? You were already asking Saquon to ask your GM to give his agent a call. So why don't you have a real conversation?
Can we make make it realistic a thing?
Make it realistic.
Hey, Odell, your contract.
Because Odell Beckham's agent doesn't have Joe Shane's phone number, of course.
Well, I mean, why do you even say that? Like, are you just looking for stirring the pot? That's all he does.
Exactly that. I mean, whatever. If he comes back or doesn't, I don't care. I'm just sick of like the speculation on Twitter about he's coming back. It's $20 million. It's $4 million. It's if he doesn't fit in with the mold of what the Giants are doing, and if he's asking for $10 million a year coming off 2 ACL surgeries, then it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I think it by the day it bodes better for us. So I would love to hear in the next couple of days that we sign a center. Maybe we pick up another defensive back, and then all of a sudden he's still out there, and something can be figured out. That would be wonderful. Imagine.
I think maybe he ends up sitting until training camp, and someone might bring him in after that. That's my feeling now, since it's been so long. But Colin, it's funny because the Giants have actually been the most active team in free agency.
Yeah,
and they still really need to pick up a center and a defensive back, to fill out the roster. Just goes to show you how the dearth of talent was on this team, or lack of thereof, I should say.
I mean, we got 11 picks in the draft too.
Yeah.
I mean, we might even see another trade happen before the draft. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm really excited to get into draft talk next week with you guys. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
How
long when is the draft? We're like a month out?
Yeah.
It's on the 29th. There's a Thursday, I believe, April 29th.
Yep.
So we got to start getting our position breakdowns. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys, I guess we sort of mentioned, what the next steps are for the Giants in free agency, but I think at this point you really look to the draft for everything else.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully there's some moves left to be made, some deals to be had, some value to be realized, guys. But I don't think it's anything we're going to uncover unless we read about it after it's happened, kind of thing.
What the hell does that mean?
In free agency, I don't think we're going to all of a sudden be like, oh, what about this guy we totally forgot about?
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, it's out there. You can look at the list and it's thin across the board, every position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of times maybe you wait till after the draft and you see where you're at, see if you need to fill any more holes with some guys maybe who are still out there. And then obviously plenty of guys are going to be waiting for injuries to happen so they can get signed back up and stuff like that. Maybe, make it on the practice squad or anything of that nature.
I mean, what's interesting is you said it yourself. I mean, we're the most active team in free agency, but it's wonderful to see the contracts and they all make sense for the most part. That's a wonderful thing. Usually when you see a team that's super active and splashing the cash, as you like to say, it doesn't bode well for your short-term future and long-term future, for that matter.
Prefer blasting cash as opposed to splashing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
They're two very different things.
Well, splashing is softer, right?
Yeah.
Like you splashed cash on Bobby Okereke.
Yeah.
I am going to be calling him Bobby Okerker in no time. I can already tell.
So
I have no ability to speak English.
Cardi B.
Thank you for saying that, because I was gonna.
Oh yeah, what's
forget.
the nickname for him? Yeah.
Was it Okerker Berserker? And his theme song will be Berserker from Jay and Silent Bob's. Was it Strike? No, is it
that
Clerks?
was from Clerks? Yeah,
Clerks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we got
for
a
you,
theme song.
Sticking Clock Berserker.
Exactly. Just put his name in there.
Would you like to
have a talk?
Make tackles Berserker.
Did you just say make tackles? Anything else tonight, guys? Anything around the league that's interesting to you?
That Lamar
Darnold
Jackson isn't signed.
Who?
That's pretty funny, right?
Who is?
Lamar Jackson's still a free agent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's not a free agent, but
He's
a restricted franchise tag.
He's not going to play this year for them.
He might just play out the rest of the deal. Who knows? I'm shocked that no one will give up 2 firsts for him, because people gave up. I think they gave up 3 firsts for Stafford a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think
it's collusion, man. Collusion.
Well, that, and we're seeing. I think there's just a lot of GMs that are starting to wake up to the realities of the economic scene in the NFL.
But I mean, don't you think it's weird that like a crazy owner like Jim Irsay or something's like, no, we're just going to force this. We can get Lamar Jackson. We're going to get Lamar Jackson, and we're going to mortgage whatever we have to get Lamar Jackson right now.
No, they have Gardner Minshew now, so that's
they do.
Yeah, the Colts. They're good.
They're set. Yeah. They don't even need to draft anyone.
No,
that'll be fine. Yeah, they're on the 4th pick, so they're going to end up with Richardson or Levis, you would imagine. Which
probably.
Yeah.
I feel like both those guys are going to go way higher than they really should.
Yeah. Levis is going to go there. I can see him in a Colts uniform in no time.
No, I bet they pick Richardson, but he's going to have to sit for a year. Like, you can't just throw him out there. You're going to ruin him, like, straight up.
Probably.
He's not ready to play in the NFL. That's like, I mean, he probably should be like a second-round pick, but he's just had way too good of a combine for that to ever occur.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll see. Sam Darnold's in San Francisco for no good reason. Not really sure about that.
You can back up Brock Purdy, or you can back up Trey Lance. Is going to back up Brock Purdy.
Yeah, because they're all going to get hurt anyway, so he'll be starting in week 4.
Very exciting.
Yeah, but they'll still win games.
They always win games. It's like that coaching, man. Whatever scheme they're running. Scheme. I feel like scheme is like the football, and scheme is when you're like planning to rob a bank.
What about schedule?
That's like a British man.
That.
Schedule.
Yeah, well,
Does any of your kids watch Peppa Pig, Dan?
Yep. Well, we haven't watched in a while, but yeah.
Oh, Matty. Riley was like, Marty Puddle.
Oh no.
Like,
No, you won't be having that. That's not
weird, man. All right. We're good?
Yeah, goodbye.
No, we're not doing the outro, just bye. Thanks for listening, guys. Follow us, Big Blue United, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, BBU Podboys, the Z on Twitter. Download that DraftKings app. Use promo code TPPN when you sign up. And thank you for listening.